New Delhi. After US and China, India is also getting into the artificial making rain aircraft. Creating artificial rains in New Delhi's quick fix solution to clear up its toxic air is awaiting one final approval clearance to the aircraft that will carry out the cloud seeding. The official communication asking for the permission is in the process. The Ministry of Environmental, Forest and Climate Change received a request on Tuesday from the Hyderabad-based National Remote Sensing Center of India, a center of Indian space research organizations, to fly the aircraft on New Delhi for cloud seeding. There are multiple approvals are required from 4 government departments: the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, the Ministry of Defense, and the Indian Air Force Headquarters, and the Intelligence Bureau as well, according to a senior official familiar with the development said. Also, this is an official did not want to be identified. Some experts of India's Institute of Technology, Kanpur, currently involved in this never-before experiment to tackle the pollution, also told to the Economic Times that clearance are required so much. The researchers have been ready for the week to make the artificial rain happen. We have been following up with the NRSC for the last 4 days on the clearance for the aircraft, which is yet to happen, said Mahendra Agarwal, a Deputy Director of IIT Kanpur of India. The official quoted above said, "We are trying to expedite the clearance process to create artificial rain in the city, but as Delhi is falling in the high security zone, it would take time. The Ministry of Environment is coordinating this initiative with government departments concerned along with IIT Kanpur and Central Pollution Control Board." Researchers at IIT Kanpur have been ready for a week now with a solved solution for seeding the clouds. The window is small as the cloud formation is just about the right to create artificial rains. This condition suitable to create rain is good for today and tomorrow, said Sachidananda Tirupati, a professor at IIT Kanpur working closely with the Central Pollution Control Board of India and the Indian Meteorological Department for the artificial rains. The artificial rains may help the city get respite, albeit short terms, from the toxic air that has been shrouding the region for a fortnight, but the government officials are optimistic. The cloud formation is likely to be favorable for the cloud seeding after 4 to 5 days again from today, said the ministry officials. The cloud seeding involves changing the amount and or type of precipitations that falls from the clouds by dispersing substance, mostly salts, into the air. The dispersion is to be done from an aircraft. The NRSC aircraft has already been mounted with the instruments to spray the solution. This will be the first time that an artificial rain will be used to tackle the pollution in any Indian city. So what do you think of the rain-making aircraft awaits for the clearance to make artificial rain to clear up the pollution toxic airs in New Delhi, which is the capital of India, which is stuck between most toxic and polluted city in the world? The BRICS summit in South Africa later this month is likely to see a reviving up of India's rivalry with China for the influence in resource-rich Africa. Both Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India and the Chinese leader Xi Jinping will visit East Africa ahead of the event. The government is yet to announce this, but officials say that Prime Minister Modi of India is going to visit Rwanda and the neighbor Uganda on his way to South Africa for the BRICS summit from July 25th. While Uganda has seen visits by Indian PMs, this is a first stop Rwanda. Modi will land in Rwanda, capital Kigali, a day or two after the presidency. This will also be the first time that a Chinese president will visit Rwanda. A top source said that Modi's visit to Rwanda and Uganda was a sign that Africa remained the focus of India's outreach to the developing world, and had nothing to do with any cutthroat competition with China, as often reported in the media. It's also significant that both Rwanda and Uganda are members of the Commonwealth, where India is an important player, said some officials. Adding to that the outreach enhances India's South-South leadership traditional even as it engages with the bigger powers. Modi will hold talks with President Paul Kagame in Rwanda and President Yoweri Museveni in Uganda. Several agreements are expected to be signed with both countries. It is significant that both leaders have chosen to visit Rwanda, where China has emerged as an important partner in the reconstruction work. China's annual trade volume with Africa and its FDI in the continent are more than double that of India. However, India in the past has had an edge over China in the East Africa, mainly because of its cultural and historical links with the region. The geographical proximity has also meant that countries in the east along the Indian Ocean coast account for more than half of India's exports to Africa. Both India and China are aware of the strategic significance of East Africa as an emerging market. India, though, is wary of the inflow of easy Chinese loans in the region, which has embraced Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. In Uganda, the Reuters reported that recently China alone had loaned it nearly $3 billion and was in talks for $2.3 billion more as a part of the BRI. The China operates a naval base in Djibouti on the Horn of Africa, reflecting its growing clout in the region. Its uninhabited smaller alarms the sales to the countries in Africa has made it an attractive partner for both the countries. So what do you think of Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India and the President of China, Xi Jinping, going against East Africa in a competition or a race against building the trust between India and China in the East Africa for building blocks of military and infrastructures? Suresh Prabhu, the Commerce and Industry Minister of India, led the Indian delegation at St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on May 25th and 24th to initiate an economic summit as follow-up of the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India to Sochi for an informal summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The two countries also explored the possibility of joint ventures which should participate in tender in third countries. The minister during his engagement invited the various ministers, governors and CEOs to bring a delegation of top 100 CEOs to visit India for a summit and the meeting, with government officials and Indian CEOs where sector-specific industry would meet each other to discuss, build contacts to create sustained engagements. As India and Russia are getting so much closer and getting into economic trade and bilateral ties, US is getting eager and Trump is a little bit afraid or shocked to see India and Russia getting closer than US in relationship on defense and economy. The minister met 5 Russian ministers and several top business leaders representing railways, communication and media, fertilizers and startups. During the various meetings, the both sides appreciated and noted the fact that India-Russia trade has increased considerably, but was also still less the potential. The thrust of the conversation was creating and executing a plan for increased India-Russian trade economic cooperation. Towards this end, logistics, the infrastructures, the knowledge and based economics, diamonds and golds were highlighted as the important focus areas. In the infrastructure sector, the status of joint study with Russian railways and the high-speed railway line between Nagpur and Secunderabad was discussed. The Indian minister also highlighted the need to set up joint ventures which should participate in tender in third countries. The knowledge-based sectors like paramedicals, innovative industries, digital economies were discussed as the target areas of joint cooperations, with Russian Deputy Prime Minister and Indian ministers highlighting the need for the cooperation and creating a win-win plan in the areas of gold, diamond, timber, and other natural resources. The visit also discussed the creation of mechanisms to find the complementaries and remove barriers between the economies of the two countries. The Commerce and the Industry Minister of India and the Minister of Economic Development discussed the articulations of the Joint Action Plan on increased Russian economic cooperation and to submit the findings of report before the annual summit between the Prime Minister of India and the Russian President later this year. The establishment of a strategic economic dialogue between the Niti Aayog on the Indian side and the Ministry of Economic Development on the Russian side, where experts from both sides would meet and discuss the economic issues, which would have its first meeting later this year, was discussed. Expediting the EIUE, the India FTA negotiations was also underlined. The Indian Commerce and the Industry Minister and the Russian Minister of Transport agreed that the operations, the International North-South Transport Corridor, would propel trade between the two countries to new height by providing a faster, more viable trade route, therefore should be a priority for the both. So what do you think of India and Russia's close economic ties and mega economic summit, which will trigger US ties with India to unwilled relations or reliable relations? Post your comments below, and if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and follow us on social networks and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. This is WC Daily. Think big, think different. Bye.